Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you are a supply chain professional and you are a bit skeptical about this AI trend, everybody is selling you AI for planning, for logistic management, to minimize your costs or even to maximize your profitability. And you are wondering if AI is always the solutions to solve your operational problem, you find the right place. So my name is Samir. I am supply chain data scientist, and over the past 4 years, I have implemented more than 60 projects using operational continuous improvement, analytics, data science, and generative AI to solve a specific operational problem. But here today, I will share with you a specific project that I did with a customer in manufacturing that can help you to understand when AI is probably not the best solution. And here we are going to talk about automation, and we are going to try to understand what is the balance between a fancy AI model that can do everything, but sometimes cannot be controlled, versus an old, what we call deterministic solution that is coded by hand that is probably more robust. Because in the end, we want to solve problems. We want to deploy solutions that work in production without a lot of maintenance. And this is why probably we need to question sometimes the usage of AI. So as I said, AI is a trend. And to be honest, I am also guilty of it. If you look at the last videos that I have published, most of them are related to AI. So I talked about OpenClaw that was used to monitor international supply chains. I talk a lot about Cloud Code, Lovable to build apps, Cloud Cowork. Here I'm using Claude to monitor logistic operations. And I did a lot of videos using N8N, which is an automation solution that is also using AI. So I was doing that because it was the trend, but also because I was using AI. But if you go further in the past, right, I started this channel end of 2021, you have more, I would say, conventional solutions. So here's more about operations. But if you, for instance, if you take example here about container loading optimization or optimized supply chain processes or warehouse process scheduling, here we are talking about what we call deterministic solutions. So that's probably one of the first terms that you need to learn if you are not familiar. So the difference between stochastic and deterministic. AI agents are stochastic. That means these models are predicting what is the next token. So it can be a word, it can be a piece of image, it can be a piece of sound. And the biggest problem with that by design is if you ask an AI agent 100 times the same things, you will not have 100 times the same answers. While the more traditional deterministic solutions like coding for optimization algorithms that I was sharing in the past are real deterministic. So you ask 100 times the same task, you will 100 times have the same feedback or answer. So, and when you are deploying a solution for operations, that's something extremely important. And this is what you are going to discover in the actual case study that I had with a manufacturing company. The best way for me to illustrate this difference between a deterministic solution and something more stochastic is a project that I have conducted with a manufacturing company. So it's a small factory in Southeast Asia that is working with retailers in the region. So this factory has a lot of different customers that send orders via EDI. So EDI is electronic data interchange. It's basically a way for systems to communicate information. So an ERP in the retailer company, you have the planner that creates the order. The order is translated into EDI that is sent to the different suppliers. And this factory is one of the suppliers. The problem with this factory is that they have a small size, a limited IT budget, so they couldn't create these EDI connections with all these suppliers, especially in that they were growing with many different retailers. Each one had different systems, and sometimes they were using even different EDI protocol. So they found a kind of temporary solution where they were receiving the EDI messages by email. And the IT director created a VBA macro in Excel that was running 24/7. So each time an EDI message was received, the VBA macro was parsing the content, saving that in a database that was pushed in the system of the factory. It worked, but it was running in one computer with limited observability, and sometimes the VBA macro was like breaking because it's not really stable. So they wanted to use AI to replace this workflow. And it was at the beginning of 2025, and NA10 was really famous at that time. The trend was starting, and they wanted to use AI with NA10, and they contacted me. And the idea was to say, this is going to be our first project to become an AI native factory. To help them automate this task, this is what I built. So if you're not familiar, this tool is NA10. If you never tried, I really advise you to try. It's probably, for me, the best way to start automating tasks. It's very intuitive, especially if you never coded. And it's a good way to start building automations and use AI for these automations. And the idea was to connect this workflow that receives data from the left, process it, and then returns it in the right, to the email where they receive the EDI message. So here I gave you an example. This is an example of email where you have in the subject EDI. So here's just a test email that I receive here on a mailbox that I'm using to test. And here is the EDI message that they receive. So as you can see, this is not human readable. This is the way that the EDI format that is used by one of the supplier is coding information related to a specific order. And here I think it's an outbound order. So then this email is going through multiple formatting steps. And here, this node is an AI node. So, and their idea was to say, we want to use AI. So AI can adapt to any format of the EDIs and provide the perfect answer, so we don't have to adapt if we have a new supplier. And this is exactly what I tried to do here. So the AI was ingesting this EDI message, and then the output was a proper formatted email. So here it's like one order with two different order lines. So it's working pretty well, right? And then the output is sent to an Excel. So here's like Google spreadsheet. And this Google spreadsheet is then connected to a database to feed their WMS. So everything was working well. But before deploying that, I have adapted the workflow so it can work in production. And I wanted to test it. So I have generated hundreds of examples. And I wanted to make sure that for 100% of the time, we have the right parsing. So in AI, this is what we call observability test evaluations. And this is like in code where you are basically taking a set of inputs with the expected outputs, and you test that the workflow output is exactly the same as the expected one. And unfortunately, only 75% of the time, the orders were parsed correctly. Sometimes a field was missing, sometimes there were hallucination, sometimes they were just dropping one line item. And here I used the best models, I optimized the prompt. It was not really nearly under my control. And what I shared with the customer is that we cannot put that in production. What if you miss another line? What if you miss an order? It's basically really linked to the potential turnover that you have. So what I did is I rebuilt the workflow, but now replacing the AI part with actual code. So I asked all the different formats that they have, and I created a piece of code for each format. So it gives more than 10 parsers. It took like maybe one hour and a half to build that, especially with the support of AI. And then I ran the exact similar tests. And now I got 100% of correct results. So what happened basically? Here you transform the process where you were relying on the fancy AI models, and at that time okay, it was maybe 4.0. I don't know if the result will be better with the new models, but you will always have a limited percentage of the cases where the AI will provide a wrong answer. And I put myself in the shoes of the operational director. You cannot sleep if you are not sure that you are going to receive all the orders from your customers, because you can pay penalties, you can miss turnover. While in the old style non-AI solution, everything was working pretty well. And this is exactly what you have to keep in mind when you are analyzing a potential automation or like optimization. What is the balance between having something robust that works well versus something that looks fancy, that probably can adapt to more cases, but can sometimes fail? So the lesson is, when you need to have something that critical, that's sending orders to your ERP, probably try to do something more deterministic. AI can be used to explore, but in the end, you want something in production that solves issues. And these kind of examples can be reused when you have to deal with stakeholders that want to push AI while you just want to push for solutions that are solving a problem. Because in the end, as supply chain professionals, we want to make sure that we improve operations. We just don't want only to put a fancy AI tool that will look nice in slides, but then won't be used in the future. If you have any question or comments or potential example of projects in your company where AI was used and it was not the best solution, please feel free to share that in the comment section. I will continue to share this kind of stories to give you an overview of the experience that I got when I was implementing these projects in the manufacturing and the supply chain industry. By the way, the N8N workflow that I have built that is using a deterministic workflow can be found in this YouTube channel. I have shared a complete tutorial on how to install it. You can copy the template of N8N. If you want to learn how to use N8N, there is a dedicated video. I will put that in the description. And see you next time for a new story on how to use AI and analytics for supply chain.